Welcome to the Steelers Talk Mailbag. We do these every single week so that you, the Steelers fans, can get a voice on the show here. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. I'm going to be answering your questions on the black and gold today. And listen, if you're new here, we try to be the most interactive Steelers community here on YouTube. If you click that subscribe button, it is 100% free to join. And then you can join us 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays for our live shows, where you can get your questions and your comments and your ideas on the show for these mailbags. We try to get you guys involved as much as we possibly can, and we really do appreciate your support. So if you want to join the most interactive Steelers community for free right here on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. And with that, I'll pause and open it up for question. My boy Rad Swag is in here, and he says, should we draft Xavier and trade Diontae for a late first? So here's the thing. I don't think you're getting a late first for Diontae Johnson. If you do, I'm taking it. I am taking it. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's obviously he's had some issues in the past that make people want to trade him. I don't think anybody's going to offer you a first-round pick for Diontae Johnson, but if they do, say Kansas City offers you their first-round pick this year for him, I'm taking that trade, and I'm using one of those first-round draft picks to take a wide receiver. Now, is Xavier the right guy? Producer Coop is shaking his head. Yes, he's a Longhorns fan, but there's a lot of really good receivers in this year's draft class. And even if you keep Diontae Johnson, I actually would be in favor of going and drafting a wide receiver in the draft if you don't get, say, a Tyler Boyd in free agency. So 100%, if you get offered a late first-round pick for Diontae Johnson, I think I'm probably taking that deal. Then we got one from Super Steelers Gaming here. It says, if we don't want to Super Bowl by next season, do you think we should fire everybody and get a completely new team? No. There's only 2 teams that make the Super Bowl every year. There's only one that wins it. All right. So if they're a good football team next year, I think that everybody stays in place. I think they're going to probably get an extension done with Mike Tomlin this offseason. Hopefully they get the quarterback and the offensive coordinator right this offseason. I think if you get those 2 things right, they're going to be right back in title contention. And if you don't get those things right, then you have to start having conversations, right? Because TJ Watt's contract is expiring. Cam's going to retire soon. So it really is do or die time here for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this current era of Pittsburgh Steeler football, which is one of the reasons why I'm in favor of pushing my chips in the center of the table to go get Justin Fields. Then we got one from Eleanor Scott. It says, how would you feel about the Steelers drafting Spencer Rattler in the 4th round? Oh, my goodness. High school quarterback legend, Gamecock legend. You know what, man? I think that this is exactly the type of pick that Mike Tomlin might consider making. If they don't replace Kenny Pickett, and let's say they bring in Tyrod Taylor as their backup quarterback this year, I could absolutely see them going and getting a guy like Spencer Rattler, who has behavior issues. He's been called a bad teammate in the past. His behavior on that documentary series, I think it's called QB1, Coop. Oh, my goodness, man. He was calling his backup quarterback every single name in the book, just showing how egotistical he is. So that's definitely not a good look for him. But listen, he's got all the arm talent in the world. Remember, 2 years back, this guy was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick I believe it was the 2022 NFL draft, but then he gets usurped by Caleb Williams. He transfers to South Carolina, and the rest is history. So I think that he's probably a 4th-round value. I think that's about right. And if the Steelers don't really make a big move for a quarterback by the draft, I could absolutely see them being in the market for Spencer Rattler this spring. Now let me know down there in the comment section. You be the GM. Would you draft Spencer Rattler in the 4th round? The Steelers have 2 4th-round picks this year, 119 and 120. Would you use one of them on Spencer Rattler? Type D if you're going to draft him, or type P if you're going to pass on him. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here at some point during the show. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Gold Club member DJ KJ here says, who's the best QB Steelers can fit in the playbook if it's not Fields? So we don't know the playbook right now because we don't have an offensive coordinator. So hard to answer that question. But if you can't get Fields, let's say Chicago keeps Fields and they trade the number 1 pick, right? What would be the next best course of action? You can make an argument for Russell Wilson. You can make an argument for Mason Rudolph. And then you can make an argument for maybe Jacoby Brissett if Eric Bieniemy's the offensive coordinator. I think those are really the best options if it's not Fields. But at this point, man, if Fields is available, I really hope the Pittsburgh Steelers end up making a move for him. Then we got one from Ghost Ty, and he says, what do you think about Terrion Arnold? Is he talking about? Oh, yeah, that's right, the DB from Bama. I'll be honest with you, I have not gone into his film. I've been really busy getting into the quarterbacks here to start the process here at Chat Sports. I'm one of our main NFL draft analysts. I've been really getting into the quarterbacks. I'm going to be starting to get to the other positions here soon. But listen, man, these defensive backs from Alabama, they know what they're doing. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I'm a big fan of. I've watched a lot of tape on him. I'm excited to get to Terrion Arnold because he's actually rising up draft boards all over the place right now. Then we got one from William Pastor, and he says, if you were the Steelers, would you trade up and go after Marvin Harrison Jr.? No, we don't need a Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Marv, all right? Maserati Marv, what's not to love? But we've got a Maserati in the garage already with George Pickens, in my opinion, man. That guy can run like a deer. He runs good routes. He's an incredible 50-50 ball receiver. And as much as some people don't like the behavior issues and want to see him traded elsewhere, he's not going anywhere as long as Mike Tomlin is here, in my opinion. So you got George Pickens, you got Diontae Johnson. I'm not opposed to adding another receiver, but George Pickens is your number one guy. You don't need to spend all that draft capital to get up to number 3 to take Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, speaking of a junior here, let's talk about Joey Porter Jr. and our friends at Fanatics. Have his jersey on sale on their website. And listen, man, if you guys have watched our watch parties, I'm wearing jerseys during those games. I'm wearing Fanatics jerseys, and they're freaking fantastic, man. They're high quality. They do a really, really good job at Fanatics. You know, chatsports.com/Joey Porter Jr. to get the one in your size. And let me tell you, man, right now, this is going to be an investment for you. Joey Porter Jr. is going to be the number 1 lockdown corner here in Pittsburgh, I think, for at least the next 10 years. So if you don't really spend money on jerseys all that often, and you want to get one for the next 10 years that you can wear on Steelers game days, Joey Porter Jr.'s, at least in my opinion, is going to be a pretty darn safe bet. So you can get yours today in your size before they sell out. Go to chatsports.com/Joey Porter Jr. Limited supply here, guys. So you use our link right now to make sure you get the best deal when they're still available. Then we got one from CM Punk here, Gold Club member. He says, do you think Tyler Boyd will join the Steelers? I actually think he will. And maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know. I don't know if the Steelers are going to be looking to get a free agent wide receiver. Maybe they'll opt to go get one in the draft. But Tyler Boyd, man, Pittsburgh native, Pitt Panther, wants to come to the Steelers. He has said that he has a good relationship with Mike Tomlin, and he wants to play for the Steelers at some point in his career. Well, Tyler, you're a free agent this year. We need a third receiver. Come on home, baby. We want you. We love you. We want you to be the number 3 receiver here in Pittsburgh. And who knows, with Diontae Johnson just 1 year left on his contract, he might be the number 2 receiver here in Pittsburgh in years to come. I really want Tyler Boyd. Then we got one from Tony Montana. He says, it sounds like Jaire Alexander is expecting to be traded this offseason. What would it cost the Steelers to trade for him this offseason? So Jaire Alexander, really good cornerback, really good in one-on-one coverage, really does fit what the Pittsburgh Steelers like in their cornerbacks. The only issue is the contract is pretty lucrative, for one, and number 2, it's going to take at least a second-round pick, and it might take a first-round pick, if I'm being honest with you, to go get Jaire Alexander. I don't know what Green Bay wants for him. After kind of the shenanigans with the coin toss and all this different stuff that he did this year, it seems like Green Bay might be willing to trade him. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you trade a second-rounder in exchange for Jaire Alexander? Now, Alexander does have a signing bonus and a restructure with Green Bay, so that's like $8 million off his cap hit for the Steelers if he's traded here. So that's an interesting tidbit there. Let me know down there in the comment section. Would you trade the second-round pick this year in exchange for Jaire Alexander? Give me a yes or no down there in the comment section. Then we got one from Trey Roberson. He says, if Amarius, Mims, and Kool-Aid both are on the board when we pick, who we taking? Personally, man, first it does depend on what happens in free agency. It depends on who's on the roster at that point. But I really like Kool-Aid McKinstry. All right, he's got the size you look for. He's got the arm length you look for. He's got the physicality against the run and against the screen that you look for. He's got the recovery speed. I mean, When it comes to just pure athleticism, it's hard to beat Kool-Aid McKinstry, in my opinion. And Joey Porter Jr. is built the exact same way. So if you have Kool-Aid McKinstry and Joey Porter Jr. on either side of the defense, you could just straight up bully teams at the line of scrimmage, and good luck getting past those guys in press man coverage. That's all I'm going to say. If I have the choice there, I'm going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry over Amarius Mims. Then we got one from Nico here. He says, what's the % chance you think Kenny Pickett will be the starting quarterback next year? Good question, Nico. And honestly, if I want to say 0, but that's definitely not the case, because the way Mike Tomlin was talking about him in his final press conference, it really does seem like they still believe in this kid. They like his intangibles, his leadership ability, all this different stuff. So it's tough to say right now what the people in the building are thinking. So for me personally, I'll say that he has about a 60% chance at this point. Now, that might seem a little bit high, and maybe it is. But just knowing what I know about how the Pittsburgh Steelers feel about Kenny Pickett, I feel like they're going to hire an offensive coordinator to try to develop him and give him one more shot. So for me, 60%, and honestly, it might be a little bit higher than that. Then we got one from Christ. Do you think the Steelers address the center position in free agency, the draft, or both? This is a good question. And I don't know. Because you got Mason Cole. You can cut him and save about $4.5 million in cap space. All right? There's some really good free agent centers this year. But also there's some really good draft centers. Okay? And Mason Cole would be a good backup center in the future. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do. All I know is you can't have Mason Cole as your starting center next year. All right? You just can't. I don't care if you get a free agent. I don't care if you go to the draft. Just make sure it gets done, all right? I like Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia. I like that center out of Oregon. I can't remember his name at the moment. But, there's also some good free agency guys. Connor Williams, the number 1 graded center in football this year. He's going to be a free agent. Bunch of great guys are going to be on the free agent market this year. So, honestly, as long as it's not Mason Cole, I'll probably be happy. Now let me know down there in the comments section, where do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers to address the center position this offseason? Type FA for free agency or type ND for the NFL draft. Now, some quick Twitter shout-outs here to the people that followed me on Twitter this week. If you go follow me at Jack_Sperry, you will get a shout-out on a future Steelers Talk live show, or Steelers Talk video, I should say. So shout-out to TV, Adobo, Mason, Sharky, David, and Marvin. Everybody that gives me a follow at Jack_Sperry will get a shout-out on one of our Steelers Talk videos moving forward. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me to the end of today's show. Thank you for all those that submitted questions. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for extensive Steelers news and rumors coverage throughout the 2024 offseason.